Good morning. Welcome to my kitchen. We are going to make some chicken and dumplings today. Nothing like having chicken and dumplings on a very chilly fall day. For these chicken and dumplings, we are going to be using one of our chickens that we raised and we butchered and cleaned and everything ourselves. So this is an organically grass-fed chicken that we raised ourselves. This one is about 5 pounds, 10 ounces. I've noticed that if they get very big, they do not fit in my Instant Pot. So we're gonna be cooking this most of the day in the crock pot with a bunch of water, and which will make us a great big amount of chicken broth. And I can jar that, put it in the refrigerator, and then I can also have some to use in the recipe as well. So let's get started. This is my crock pot. I've already put a pitcher of water in it, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut open this chicken. This was the first time that we actually raised specific breed, Cornish cross, for our own meat. We butchered a couple of roosters before over the years, but this year I decided to grow some of our own, and it worked out really well. So we're just gonna put that in there, and then we're gonna take the rest of our water, if we need all of it, and we're gonna pour it over the top of that. I fill mine almost to the first lip, and then I put this on high because I do want it to cook a little bit faster today. I do have somewhere to go, but if you put this on early in the morning, you could put it on low, let it cook until after lunch or so, and then it will probably be ready. If it's falling off the bone, that's a good sign. So we're gonna have lots of chicken broth in here. We're gonna have a full cooked chicken. I will probably not have to use all of this chicken for our chicken and dumplings. The last time I did make the chicken and dumplings with one of our chickens, we had a lot of chicken in it and not as many dumplings. So this I just pulled out of the freezer. I can freeze the dumplings that I make. These were frozen on the 1st of October, so like a month and a day have been in there in the freezer. I make these from scratch. I'll show that recipe below. What I should have done was used both of the batches. I doubled the batch of dumplings, and I should have used both of them in the pot last time. I'm not gonna make dumplings today because I do not have the time this morning to do that. I've got some other things I want to do, and this was supposed to be like a quicker meal. So next time you can definitely double up and freeze a double batch if you need that many. We have 5 in our household right now. All 3 of them are teenagers, so they do eat a little bit more than maybe when our kids were younger. So next time I would probably do a double batch, but this will have to do. So I will probably keep some of the chicken out just to eat on salads or whatever, and we'll put the rest in the chicken and dumplings. Now, when I make the chicken and dumplings, I will use this chicken broth. I will use a stick of butter that I made from the raw milk that I buy each week. The recipe that I used is not my own recipe. It is a recipe that I have tweaked a little bit. I will share this below. These were made with whole wheat flour. I usually buy unbleached white whole wheat, and I am really excited that I have some wheat berries, so I'm on the hunt for a grain mill, and I'm going to be milling my own flour before too much longer. Pretty excited about that. The recipe that I use 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 cup of the chicken broth that we're going to have in here, 1 egg from our chickens, and then I use about 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt, depending on what it tastes like. These are really good. You could really even puree some vegetables, puree some onions, puree some, probably couldn't hide broccoli or anything like that very well. But you could even cut up carrots and stuff like that and make it kind of a chicken dumpling soup. I'm not really sure what you would call that. But you could definitely chop up some veggies and put in there. I've actually thought about that, and I may try that today. We'll see how it goes. So I could probably just chop them up and put them in the broth and let them cook in there. And if nothing else, it would just give the broth a really, really good flavor. Then I could strain that off, keep some of the broth if I have any left, which I may not, making chicken and dumplings. So that is it. So the chicken is cooked. We've got the broth in here, and it is boiling. So now we're gonna take our butter, and we're just gonna go ahead and put it in the broth and let that cook down, let that melt. And after that, we're gonna add the dumplings, let them cook. And while we're doing that, we're also going to debone the chicken and get that ready. our butter is melted, we're going to add some salt and pepper. So now we're going to add our frozen dumplings. These won't take too long to cook. They're not very thick. Now when I froze these, I did freeze them on a cookie sheet or our cutting board so they would not stick together. Freeze them, then put them in the bag after they were completely frozen. Making sure that none of them have stuck together a little bit. And this will definitely cool down the broth quite a bit, putting all these frozen ones in here. So you just want to bring it back to a gentle rolling boil until these are cooked through. And then once they're nice and cooked and kind of puffy, we'll add the chicken. So now we have the broth boiling, the butter is melted, we've added the dumplings and they are cooking really well. I tested one and it was really good. So we've added salt and pepper. So now we're just going to add our deboned chicken. And if I remember, I will add all of this. So just stir it every once in a while. Let it cook a little bit longer. Let the chicken soak up all that yumminess. I usually serve this with some homemade biscuits as well. You could do bread and butter, whatever you would like. There is nothing like a good pot of homemade chicken and dumplings, especially on a cool fall evening.